The dense jungle of Karna 3 clung to every sense like a living entity, its humidity weighing down the air. Captain Liam O'Connor crouched behind a tangle of twisted roots, his breath steady, his eye fixed on the target through his sniper rifle's scope. Alien General Kthral stood tall in his shimmering armor, surrounded by a cluster of high-ranking officers. His arrogance was palpable, his posture relaxed, as if he believed himself untouchable. O'Connor knew better. "On my mark!" O'Connor whispered into his comm, his voice a calm contrast to the tension gripping his team. Beside him, Sergeant Maria Vega adjusted her position, her fingers deftly manipulating the advanced camouflage suit she wore. Corporal Samira Patel lay prone, her rifle aimed steadily, waiting for the command. Private Jack Harris, the youngest of the team, was a few meters away, his breath quickening despite his attempts to control it. The mission was straightforward: eliminate General Kthral and destabilize the alien chain of command. But the stakes were high. One mistake, and they would be exposed, outgunned, and outnumbered. The general's forces had superior technology and numbers, but Earth's snipers had the element of surprise and unmatched precision. O'Connor's voice was barely audible over the faint hum of alien machinery. 3, 2, 1. The shot rang out, a soft puff of air from a silenced barrel. Kthral's head snapped back, a precise hole appearing in the thin slit of his helmet's visor. For a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. Then chaos erupted. Alien soldiers scrambled, their disciplined formation shattered by the sudden assassination of their leader. "Move!" O'Connor barked. The team dispersed, becoming shadows in the underbrush, their camo suits blending seamlessly with the alien foliage. The sound of alien gunfire echoed through the jungle as they fired blindly into the trees, trying to locate their invisible attackers. Harris stumbled as he moved, his heart pounding in his chest. "Captain, what's our fallback point?" he whispered, his voice tinged with fear. O'Connor's response was calm, a steady anchor in the storm of battle. "Stay close, Harris. We're heading north to the ridge. Vega, Patel, cover our retreat." Vega and Patel moved like ghosts, their shots precise and deadly, cutting down any alien foolish enough to stray too close. The team moved swiftly, their training evident in every step. But the jungle was alive with danger. Alien drones buzzed overhead, scanning the ground, and O'Connor knew it was only a matter of time before they were spotted. A sudden burst of static in their comms made O'Connor's heart skip a beat. "Captain, this is command," a voice crackled through, distorted by interference. "We have intel on a potential leak. One of our allied factions might be compromised. Could be feeding the enemy info on our operations. Be advised." O'Connor gritted his teeth. "A traitor? Now?" "Understood," he replied curtly. "We'll keep our eyes open." As they reached the ridge, the jungle opened up slightly, revealing a narrow path that led deeper into enemy territory. O'Connor signaled his team to halt. "We need to get higher ground. Harris, see that ledge up there? Get up there and keep an eye out." Harris nodded, trying to mask his anxiety as he scrambled up the rocky incline. Vega and Patel took up defensive positions, their eyes scanning the dense foliage below. O'Connor moved to a vantage point, pulling out his binoculars to survey the scene. He could see the alien forces below, disorganized but regrouping, their anger palpable even from this distance. "We need to move further in," O'Connor said, lowering his binoculars. "There's an outpost 2 clicks east. If we can get there, we might find out more about this betrayal. Or walk straight into a trap." Vega muttered, her voice tinged with a mix of frustration and determination. Patel added quietly, "If there's a leak, they could already know we're here." O'Connor's gaze was hard. "We don't have a choice. If there's a traitor, we need to find out who and why. This mission's just changed. Stay sharp. Trust no one outside this team." The team moved cautiously, every step measured, every rustle of leaves scrutinized. The jungle felt even more oppressive now, as if it sensed the tension in the air. As they approached the alien outpost, the hum of machinery grew louder. O'Connor signaled for silence, and the team spread out, encircling the small clearing. Through the underbrush, O'Connor could see the outpost, a low, squat building with alien scripts glowing on its surface. Several alien soldiers stood guard, their eyes scanning the jungle. O'Connor motioned for Vega to take the lead. She moved forward with a predator's grace, her suit flickering in and out of visibility as it adapted to the surroundings. Just as she reached the perimeter, an alien officer emerged from the building, speaking rapidly into a communicator. The words were guttural, but O'Connor's translator crackled into life, catching fragments. Human snipers, advancing, ally provided, coordinates. O'Connor's blood ran cold. The betrayal was real. Vega, hold position, he whispered. Everyone else, prepare to engage. We're not leaving here without answers. The jungle felt alive with anticipation, each leaf and branch seeming to vibrate with the tension coursing through the sniper team. Captain O'Connor's mind raced as he watched the alien officer bark orders into the communicator. His suspicion had been confirmed. They were dealing with a traitor, and the enemy now had their exact coordinates. He knew they had to act fast. Vega, do you see a way in? O'Connor's whisper was barely audible over the faint hum of alien machinery. Negative, Captain. They've got this place locked down tighter than a drum, Vega replied, her voice steady despite the looming danger. But I spotted a ventilation shaft on the west side. Might be our best bet. O'Connor nodded, even though she couldn't see him. Good. Patel, you and Harris move up to provide cover. Vega, you're with me. We're going in quiet. No shots unless absolutely necessary. The team split off silently, each step deliberate and measured. The undergrowth crunched softly underfoot, masking their approach. O'Connor felt a bead of sweat trickle down his temple, his grip on his rifle tightening. Every second counted. If they didn't uncover the full scope of the betrayal, more lives could be at risk, and Earth's position in this war would be compromised. Vega reached the ventilation shaft first. It was a narrow opening, just wide enough for a person to crawl through. She quickly removed the grate, her movements precise and practiced. O'Connor gestured for her to go first, and she slipped into the darkness with barely a sound. He followed, pulling the grate back into place behind him. Inside the shaft, the air was stale and heavy, filled with the scent of alien metal and something acrid that stung his nose. They crawled forward, the confined space forcing them to move slowly and carefully. The dim light from Vega's wrist-mounted flashlight flickered, casting long shadows on the walls. O'Connor's senses were on high alert, every sound amplified in the tight quarters. The thrum of machinery vibrated through the metal beneath them, a constant reminder of how close they were to enemy territory. Vega stopped abruptly, holding up a hand. O'Connor halted behind her, straining to hear. Muffled voices drifted up through the shaft, alien and guttural. He couldn't make out the words, but the tone was urgent, commanding. Vega glanced back at him, her eyes questioning. O'Connor nodded, signaling her to keep moving forward. They needed to get closer. As they inched along, the voices grew clearer. The humans are here, one of the aliens was saying, its voice low and gravelly. Our contact has confirmed their location. We will flush them out soon. O'Connor's jaw clenched. So it was true, someone on their side was feeding the enemy information. He exchanged a grim look with Vega. She mouthed, "What now?" He motioned for her to keep listening. They needed more details before making their move. The alien continued, "Once the humans are eliminated, we proceed with the plan. The alliance will fall, and our victory will be assured." A different voice replied, harsher, more authoritative. "Ensure the traitors' loyalty. They must remain convinced that this is in their best interest. If they waver, dispose of them." O'Connor's heart pounded. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a strategic play to dismantle the alliance from within. They had to get this information back to command, but first, they needed a way out. He tapped Vega on the shoulder, signaling a retreat. She nodded and began to back out of the shaft, careful not to make any noise. Just as they were about to turn the corner, a loud clang echoed through the vent, followed by hurried footsteps below. O'Connor froze, his breath caught in his throat. Had they been discovered? A spotlight flashed across the shaft's opening, blinding them for a moment. "We need to move now," Vega whispered urgently. They scrambled backward, trying to get out before the aliens realized they were there. O'Connor's mind raced. They couldn't afford to be captured. The information they had was too critical. As they emerged from the shaft, a siren blared, piercing through the jungle's stillness. "We've been made!" Vega shouted, pulling out her weapon. "Harris, Patel, cover us!" Gunfire erupted as the team sprang into action. Harris and Patel fired from their positions, creating a wall of suppression to give O'Connor and Vega time to escape. The alien guards were caught off guard but quickly regrouped, their return fire shredding through the foliage. O'Connor sprinted through the underbrush, his muscles burning with exertion. He could hear Vega close behind, her breath labored. "We need to find higher ground," she called out over the noise. "We're sitting ducks here." "I know," O'Connor shouted back. "There's a ridge up ahead. We can make a stand there." They pushed forward, bullets zipping past them, the alien forces in hot pursuit. Reaching the base of the ridge, O'Connor turned, taking a moment to assess their position. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but if they could hold the high ground, they might have a chance to regroup and call for extraction. "Harris, Patel, fall back to the ridge!" O'Connor ordered into his calm. "We'll cover you." Patel responded immediately, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Roger that, Captain. Moving now." The two snipers retreated, firing as they went, their shots precise and calculated. O'Connor could see the determination in their movements, the resolve that had carried them through countless battles. He turned his attention back to the advancing aliens, raising his rifle and taking aim. "Here they come," Vega muttered, her voice tinged with both fear and determination. O'Connor steadied his breathing, focusing on the approaching enemy. "Hold your ground," he said firmly. "We're not going down without a fight." The ridge loomed above them, a jagged silhouette against the darkening sky. The team reached the top, breathless and battered, but with a renewed determination to stand their ground. O'Connor crouched low behind a rock, scanning the jungle below through his scope. The alien soldiers were advancing, their silhouettes moving with precision through the underbrush, their armor glinting under the faint light of the distant alien moons. They were relentless, driven by a desire to eliminate the humans who had dared challenge their superiority. "Harris, check our 6, O'Connor commanded, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He could feel the weight of the mission pressing down on him, the lives of his team in his hands. Harris nodded, his youthful face pale but resolute as he turned to cover their rear. "Vega, Patel, keep an eye on those flanks. They'll try to outmaneuver us," he continued, his gaze fixed on the approaching enemy. Vega, her face a mask of concentration, shifted to her position, her rifle trained on the left side of the ridge. Patel took the right, her sharp eyes scanning the tree line for any sign of movement. The air was thick with tension, every rustle of leaves a potential threat. The alien forces were closing in, and O'Connor knew they couldn't hold them off forever. But they didn't need to. They just needed to buy enough time to get the intel back to command. That was the mission now. Everything else was secondary. A sharp crack echoed through the jungle, followed by a burst of gunfire. O'Connor's instincts took over. He fired a single shot, taking down an alien soldier who had broken cover. Vega and Patel followed suit, their rifles barking in rapid succession, cutting down the first wave of attackers. "They're testing us," Vega muttered, reloading quickly. "Trying to gauge our strength." "Let them," O'Connor replied, his tone cold and focused. "We'll give them something to remember." More gunfire erupted, the sound deafening in the stillness of the night. The aliens pressed forward, their movements coordinated, their fire precise. O'Connor could see the flashes of their weapons through the trees, the bright blue plasma contrasting sharply with the darkness. Suddenly, Harris called out, "Captain, I see movement on the right. They're trying to flank us." O'Connor didn't hesitate. "Patel, Focus fire on the right. Harris, shift left and cover Vega. The team moved like a well-oiled machine, their training evident in every action. Patel fired a burst, forcing the flanking aliens to retreat back into cover. Harris shifted his position, his eyes wide with concentration as he scanned the undergrowth. Vega took advantage of the brief lull, picking off another alien with a precise shot. "We need to push them back," Patel said through gritted teeth. "We can't let them get any closer." O'Connor nodded, formulating a plan. "Vega, you and I will advance, create a distraction. Patel, Harris, cover us from here. When I give the signal, lay down suppressive fire. We're going to force them to retreat." The team acknowledged the order, their expressions grim but determined. O'Connor and Vega moved forward, keeping low, using the rocks and foliage for cover. The air was thick with the smell of burned ozone and the metallic tang of blood. The sounds of battle filled their ears: gunfire, shouts, the hiss of plasma bolts. O'Connor signaled with a sharp gesture, and Patel and Harris opened fire, their bullets creating a wall of suppression that forced the aliens to duck for cover. O'Connor and Vega moved swiftly, closing the distance between them and the enemy. He could feel his heartbeat in his ears, each step bringing them closer to danger. They reached a cluster of rocks near the bottom of the ridge, and O'Connor peeked around the corner, assessing their position. The aliens were pinned down, momentarily disoriented by the sudden onslaught. He knew they wouldn't stay that way for long. "Now!" O'Connor shouted, springing from cover and firing at the nearest alien soldier. Vega followed his lead, her shots precise and deadly. They advanced with a controlled fury, their movements fluid and coordinated. The aliens, caught off guard by the aggressive push, began to fall back, their formation breaking under the relentless assault. O'Connor pressed forward, sensing a shift in momentum. But then, a sudden explosion rocked the ridge, throwing him to the ground. Dirt and debris rained down, and his ears rang with the blast. "Captain?" Vega's voice cut through the chaos, urgent and filled with concern. "Are you all right?" O'Connor pushed himself up, his vision swimming. "I'm fine," he lied, his body aching from the impact. "We need to fall back, regroup at the top of the ridge." He signaled to Patel and Harris to pull back, and the team retreated, moving quickly but carefully. The aliens were regrouping, their advance temporarily stalled but far from defeated. O'Connor knew they needed a new plan. They couldn't keep playing defense, not with their numbers dwindling and the enemy adapting to their tactics. As they reached the top of the ridge, O'Connor gathered his team around him, his mind racing. They were running out of time. The enemy was relentless, and the odds were stacked against them. But he refused to let despair take hold. "We need to hit them where it hurts," O'Connor said, his voice low but filled with resolve. "We've been playing defense for too long. It's time to go on the offensive, make them regret ever coming after us." Vega nodded, a fierce determination in her eyes. "What's the plan, Captain?" O'Connor glanced at the jungle below, the shadows shifting as the aliens moved into position for another assault. "We're going to hit their command center. If we can take out their leaders, we can buy ourselves enough time to get the hell out of here." Harris swallowed hard, his face pale but set with determination. "And if we don't make it?" O'Connor met his gaze, his expression unwavering. "Then we make sure they remember who we are and what we can do. We make sure they know Earth doesn't back down." The air was electric with tension, every breath a battle against the oppressive weight of anticipation. Captain O'Connor crouched low, peering through the thick foliage that bordered the alien command center. The structure was a hulking mass of metal and alien technology, bristling with antennas and glowing panels. This was their target, the heart of the enemy's operation on Karna 3. "All right, listen up," O'Connor said quietly, his voice steady but urgent. "We've got one shot at this. We hit fast, hit hard, and get out before they even know what's happened. Vega, you're on point. I need you to take out the external defenses. Harris, Patel, cover her and watch for any counterattacks. I'll head inside and take care of their comms." Vega nodded, her expression set with determination. "Got it, Captain?" Let's make them regret setting foot on this planet. Harris checked his rifle, his hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Ready when you are, he said, his voice betraying a mix of fear and excitement. Patel gave a curt nod, her eyes sharp as she scanned the perimeter. I'll cover the west approach. We're not letting any of them through. O'Connor gave a final look at his team. They were tired, bruised, but resolute. They'd come this far, and they weren't about to back down now. On my mark, he whispered. 3, 2, 1, move. Vega darted forward, her movements quick and precise. She reached the first set of defenses, a series of automated turrets, and set to work. Her fingers flew over her toolkit, disabling the first turret with practiced efficiency. The device powered down with a soft whine, its glowing red lights fading to black. Harris, Patel, keep those eyes sharp, O'Connor ordered as he crept along the building's edge, his rifle raised. He could hear the hum of alien machinery inside, a constant reminder of the stakes. They needed to sever the enemy's communications to disrupt their coordination. A shout rang out from the far side of the compound, followed by the crackle of gunfire. Contact! East side! Harris shouted, his voice tight with urgency. O'Connor's heart leapt into his throat, but he didn't lose focus. Patel, shift to the east. Vega, double time on those defenses. Patel moved swiftly, her rifle trained on the incoming enemy forces. She fired off a series of shots, each one finding its mark. The aliens stumbled, their formation breaking under the unexpected assault. Vega finished disabling the last turret and sprinted back to cover. Turrets are down, Captain! You're clear to move in. Good work, O'Connor replied. He made his way to the entrance, a narrow doorway barely visible beneath the mass of cables and alien tech. He took a deep breath, then slipped inside. The interior was a maze of corridors, each one pulsing with a dim, otherworldly glow. The air was thick with the scent of alien metal and something acrid, a smell that burned the back of his throat. He moved quickly but carefully, his senses on high alert. He knew the enemy could be anywhere, lurking in the shadows. He reached the main comms room, a large chamber filled with consoles and screens displaying alien script. He could see the central communications hub at the far end, its interface a mess of blinking lights and strange symbols. This was it. He needed to disable it, cut off their communications, and give his team a fighting chance. O'Connor approached the console, his rifle at the ready. He could hear the distant sounds of battle outside, the sharp crack of gunfire, the dull thud of explosions. His team was holding their own, but they needed him to succeed. He set to work, his fingers moving swiftly over the alien controls. He didn't fully understand the technology, but he knew enough to disable it. He pulled a device from his pack, a small EMP generator they developed back on Earth, and attached it to the console. A few quick adjustments, and it would send a pulse through the system, frying their communications. Just as he was about to activate the EMP, a sound behind him made him freeze. The soft scrape of a boot against metal. He spun around, his rifle raised, just in time to see an alien soldier step into the room, its weapon aimed directly at him. Time seemed to slow. O'Connor fired first, his shot striking the alien in the chest. It staggered but didn't fall, its armor absorbing the impact. It fired back, the plasma bolt narrowly missing O'Connor's head as he dove for cover. He hit the ground hard, his shoulder slamming against the cold metal floor. Pain shot through his arm, but he ignored it, rolling to the side and taking aim again. The alien advanced, its weapon charging for another shot. O'Connor fired, this time aiming for the exposed joint at the creature's neck. The bullet found its mark, and the alien crumpled to the ground, its weapon clattering beside it. Breathing heavily, O'Connor pushed himself up. He couldn't afford to waste any more time. He activated the EMP, watching as the lights on the console flickered and died. The room went dark, the hum of machinery fading to silence. Outside, the sounds of battle grew quieter, the confusion of the alien forces evident. Captain, we've got them on the run! Vega's voice crackled over the comm, a hint of triumph in her tone. Good. O'Connor replied, his voice steady. Fall back to the rendezvous point. We're getting out of here. He moved quickly, retracing his steps through the dim corridors. The building felt like a tomb now, silent and foreboding. He could feel the weight of the mission lifting, but he knew it wasn't over yet. They still had to make it out alive. As he reached the exit, he saw his team waiting, their expressions a mix of relief and determination. They'd done it, but the cost was clear in their weary eyes. Let's move, O'Connor said, his voice firm. This isn't over until we're off this rock. They made their way back into the jungle, the night air cool against their skin. The path ahead was uncertain, the enemy regrouping, but they had what they came for. As they disappeared into the shadows, O'Connor couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. They had struck a blow, shown their strength, and reminded the galaxy that Earth was not to be underestimated.